Yes, hello everyone. Falchius Yockety Cúilín Media. Welcome back. It is a new year, lads, in the national leagues. I'm joined by Liam White and Aaron Prendergast, and Matthew Hurley will be jumping on to fill out the set later on into the show as soon as he can make it. He was, of course, at Páirc for Cork's 2 games today in the leagues. Liam and Aaron, Liam, you're also yourself out on the road. You're in Nolan Park. How are you keeping, man?
Well, I've seen Arsenal lose to Man United. I've seen Offaly lose 3 games today. So I suppose the mood's been better. But no, look, still happy to be back out going to matches and happy to see a solid Offaly performance today in the hurling. So, yeah, it's nice to be back going to matches, and we're back with the inter-county action for another year. Looking forward to dropping some outrageous opinions for the year. So, yeah, can't wait for it.
Aaron, also, we've had a bumpy weekend start, shall we say, as the Dubs beaten 3 times across the board, the LGFA, the hurling and the football to kick off 2026 in the league. It's not ideal.
No, like kind of the same similar enough situation with Liam, like Dublin losing everything, and Liverpool fan as well. They lose as well, but sure, like that kind of happens nearly every week, so I'm nearly used to that at this stage. Yeah, like it's a weird one, like especially with the hurling, like the game wasn't on TV, so I was listening to bits of it on the radio and trying to keep up with it on Scorpio, and I think that was the most frustrating one because it looked like we had it. It looked like it was in the bag, and it would have been a huge win to go there and win on the opening day. But then fall short, and obviously yesterday, with the footballers, disappointing loss, but again, not the complete end of the world given the opposition that we came up against. So, yeah, had better weekends as a Dublin fan, but look, hopefully we'll save. Let's get the bad weekends over and done with, and save the good weekends for July.
Absolutely. Well, it was disappointing, as JR highlights here in the comments. And guys, just if you are new to the show, basically how we run things here, we're going to run through the highlights from across all 3 codes that was played this weekend. Obviously, the Camogie Leagues have not started yet, but we're going to run through all of it, and you get involved in the discussion. Let us know what your highlights in the weekend were, low points in the weekend, and let us know if you have any questions or would like to hear our opinions on any specific game or specific incident, because as you might expect with the National League ticking off, we have a lot to get into. But we're going to run through some of the comments here from the likes of Garrett O'Dogrecon, who's been a guest, of course, on my show as well. Jay here saying, was at the Clare v Dublin match, some game, can't believe it didn't get broadcast, and very little preview during the week, given that it was one of the highest stakes games this weekend. Both teams, Clare and Dublin, good, played nice hurling, good youth impact from Clare, and great to see Owen O'Donnell back playing hurling for Dublin. Have a feeling both will have a big say in this year's championship. I think they were the 2. Am I right in saying Dublin Clare, 2 strongest teams in Division 1B this year? That's my stance on it, especially having seen Wexford have a very stuttery start to their campaign. I'd be confident that it will be Dublin and Clare going up. Peter here says, hey lads, great to have the leagues kick off this weekend. Multiple screens following the stats and results. County is back. Was up in Armagh last night, shitty weather, but we came back down the road with a point. Went a man down, was predicting Tyrone to get the 2 points, but in fairness, we dug in and got some great scores. That was one of the most underrated results of the weekend, I would say. Kildare going away to Tyrone and getting a draw. Like, that's a fantastic result. And then Peter saying we have Offaly at home next Saturday evening. Always a good battle with us and the faithful lads. Offaly will be eagerly looking for 2 points to get on the board. Liam just reminded me there that you lost. Grand Admiral Dan says, how are we're keeping well, man. Hope you are. That surprised me. Beat Derry. That's another big result, which we'll get into. Peter saying Hooter Gate headline from the Kerry Rossies game. Kerry last score kicked after Hooter went off. I think Rossies robbed. Over to the Rossies correspondent, Gavin. Yes, hopefully Gavin will join us on this show. The Davy show was in full swing, back to his old stomping ground. Was there a confrontation with Wexford Sport? I don't know. We'll jump into that. And also it says, fantastic start to the Stra Lecco Gale, Conor McMahon. Lecco Gale is a gem. Like, it is an absolute gem. And there's no doubt about it. Grand Kevin here says, biggest upset of the weekend, lads. Really quick. What do we think? Personally, I think I would say, do you know what? If Roscommon had held on and beat Kerry, I think it would have been that.
Wexford beating Fermanagh is a big one.
Wexford going away to Fermanagh is a very, very good result. I would, for me, it is Kildare going away to town and beating them.
Yeah.
So, to be honest, it's nothing in any way disrespectful to Kildare. I just thought Tyrone would steamroll this whole division. I genuinely thought Tyrone are just going to be on a one-way ticket out of there, but clearly Kildare might be on that ticket with them. Gaelic guy here says, what a performance by Kildare, put me out the last man standing though. Superb performance by Kildare. Cork start on fire. Yes, you will get to that as well. Unbelievable. Carlow beating Antrim, also big upset. Yeah, in Division 4. I mean, that throws our promotion picks into the wood chipper, which I expected would happen at some point. John Miller here says Brendan Cawley played a huge part in winning that game for Kerry. Rossi's deserved a draw at least. And Carlow beating Antrim is a surprise from Mark Bennett. Love the comments coming in, guys. Great to start off the year. We're blessed. National Leagues are back. We've so much to talk about. And lads, let's jump right in. So we're going to start off with Division 1, Round 1. And given that most of the people in the comments are talking about the Kerry Roscommon finale, let's talk about it as well. Kerry, 2 goals and 18 points. Roscommon, 1 goal and 20 points in Fitzgerald Stadium. The All-Ireland champions kick off their 2026 league campaign with a win. But it was controversial. And Liam, let's just get straight into this. The final minute of the game, Shawnee O'Shea kicks the ball in. Tomas Kennedy rises up, catches it, fists it up and over the bar. But did the hooter go before he hand passed that ball? Should Roscommon have got a draw out of this game?
Yeah, it's a funny one. I suppose before even getting into that, look, we can appreciate as well, it was an unbelievable catch by Tomas Kennedy, you know, especially in the final minute of a game when the ball is just hoofed in there and there's a bunch of bodies going for it. But yeah, no, listen, it was, I've watched it 2 or 3 times, even 4 times at this stage, and I still don't know whether it should have counted or not, because on the TG Caher, the ball was kicked in, and as he catches it, it turns red to 70. But then when I still can't tell whether, excuse me, I still can't tell whether when he actually goes to fist it or when the ball is actually in the air, if the hooter sounds. I'm still not 100% sure. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure I'm a fan of this way of the hooter being the way it is. I was actually much happier with the way of when the ball goes dead, that's when the game finishes. For me, that's a much better system, to be honest with you. But obviously, look, this was bound to happen. I think we'd mentioned before that if you brought in a system like this, you're going to have a situation where someone's going to get a score in the final minute of the game and the hooter's going to go and there's going to be a big controversy over whether it should count or not. And you'd feel sorry for Roscommon. And look, I mean, I'm one to talk. I'm one of them who said they'd finish bottom of Division 1. But if they'd gotten even a draw away to Kerry, away to the All-Ireland champions, and let's not forget, Kerry had a strong team out there. Let's not pretend that they didn't. They had David Clifford out there. They had Joe O'Connor. They had Shawnee O'Shea, Micheál Burns. You know, they had Sean O'Brien midfield. You know, they had other players, Mike Breen, Tyg Morley. They had some really top class players out there. They weren't messing about with their team selection, but yet they've gotten away with it. If we're being honest with you, it's really unfortunate from a Roscommon perspective. I'm still on the fence with it. I don't know, because I'm still trying to determine whether the hooter goes when he's going to fist it or when the ball is in the air. But yeah, really tough end for the game for Roscommon.
Yeah, I think like the one thing after watching it back several times as well, like I've had that, you know, Micheál Quirk, the former Kerry player, he tweeted it out, that Sport TG Caher, and then Micheál Quirk retweeted it. I've watched it about 6 or 7 times, and to me, it's clear that Kennedy had just fisted the ball when the hooter went. That's the one thing that's undisputable. On RT's article that went up, just the match report, it says that there were 5 seconds left in the game. On TG Caher's clock in the top left corner, it said that there were 2 seconds left. But the one thing that's undisputed is the noise of the hooter. The noise of the hooter goes when Tomas Kennedy has, like, say if this is my fist, the ball's here. It's left his hand as he's fisted it. Now, it's nowhere near gone over the bar, but it has left his hands. And the one thing is like, there is no real clarity. When he fists it, does the game end before that ball gets over the bar, or because he's hit it? Do you get what I mean? Like, does it end when he's hand passed the ball? And does it then end when the ball goes out of play or gets blocked or makes contact with another player? Or does it end like absolutely stone cold, regardless of where the ball is? Does it end? And the reality is, I can't believe that they've gone back to what they had before. Was it Meath, Westmeath last year?
Yeah.
Meath, Westmeath in the league, where Westmeath were robbed right at the end and Meath got the win. Like, for me, that was the klaxon. Like, that was your absolute warning shot. And the reality is now, by going back to it, they've made a bad decision, in my opinion. This hooter, for me, is a ticking time bomb. Like, it's going to cost the team big time if it's kept in the way it is right now. This Roscommon Kerry situation is a klaxon for the future, because we saw it last year with Meath, Westmeath. Westmeath felt like they were robbed that day with the ending to that game. Meath got the points when the goal was struck right on the hooter. There's no real clarity about when that game should have ended. The hooter went as Tomas Kennedy had fisted the ball out of his hands, but should that score have been allowed? But instead, the system they had before, where the hooter goes and you get one more play, not only is it completely clear as day when the game ends, you also get fantastic moments like David Clifford's score right on half-time for Kerry against Donegal. In my opinion, it adds to the game. I don't know why we've gone back to this. It's a ticking time bomb. I guarantee it's going to cost someone big time down the line. And it's already cost Roscommon dearly. It's already cost them a crucial point on the road when their performance was absolutely fantastic and they deserved the point for the performance that they put in. In my opinion, it's a mistake. They should go back to the system of the hooter goes and there's one more play, because that means that there's no subjectiveness to it, or there's very, very little subjectiveness to it. This incident with Tomas Kennedy, it's entirely subjective. How do you see it? Should that score have been allowed? Brendan Cawley made his decision. Kerry get the win. And that could cost Roscommon big time down the line.
Yeah, absolutely, it could. Like, it's like, again, I don't know why they changed it. Like, I'd love to actually know why they did, because as you said, they had this system originally. They brought in the fact that you would have the last play and the ball has to go dead after the hooter sounds because of what happened previously, because people were asking about it. And now they've gone back again. They've reverted it back, and like, if they then revert it again, they're gonna look so stupid. It's like, you know, like, just like, you can't keep switching it. Like, just stick with it. Yeah, like, absolutely. Like, I think from looking at it,
let's be honest as well, man. That David Clifford point on halftime, that was one of the moments of last year's championship. The way that was set up, and David comes out, bang, catches it, pings it off the left over the bar, and Kerry run down the tunnel, roaring at that, because they nailed it. Like, and we seen other like buzzer beaters right at the end to win the game, like Kieran Moore, for example. Kieran, winner for Donegal against Mayo, right at the buzzer beater, like when that was the final play. Those moments were fantastic. They add to the game. I don't understand why we're playing with fire here.
And it even like in our own, even in our own situation at times last year when we were playing, I remember the league final against Kildare, we were up by 2 points in the last minute. It adds to the, I suppose, the drama of it, because it's either this ball goes dead, either my team's won or we're going to extra time. Do you know what I mean? It adds to that bit of drama. It causes a bit of tension. It makes the game a bit chaotic, which is what we kind of want. Whereas this, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of it. I think let the ball go dead, then blow your whistle, then game's over, whatever. But look, it could cause Roscommon in a couple of months. But in hindsight, people will say it is just a league. What if this happens? What if David Clifford goes to kick a point in an All-Ireland final to beat, just in hindsight, Tyrone in an All-Ireland final, and the buzzer goes, and he told, nope, that's it, Tyrone have won the All-Ireland. The uproar, it's no different to Robert Doyle saving the GAA last year with that scoreboard issue in Croke Park. Like, it's going to be the same thing. So, I don't know.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. To just think about, what if this happens on the biggest stage of all? What if this happens in an All-Ireland final? What if this happens in an All-Ireland semi-final? And it could potentially have the biggest impact on the entire year. And it just comes down to a simple choice of, do you think he kicked the ball before the hooter or after the hooter? And it nearly happened in one of the LGFA All-Ireland finals in 2023, Kildare against Clare. Peter, I wonder if you remember this. Kildare won the game, but Clare had a shot right at the end when Kildare were 2 points up. They went for goal and she kicked it, and it was blocked by a Kildare defender, but the ball had left her boot as the hooter went. And basically, their blushes were saved because they hit the defender and the game was over. But if that flew into the back of the, who wins? Do you know what I mean? And it genuinely is like, what decision do you make here? Because, for example, with basketball, they say it's very clear. They say with basketball, if the player's thrown the ball, that's how you get your buzzer beater. If he's taken the shot, then it's in play. So they either need to come out and say that crystal clear, because if that's how the system is, then Tomas Kennedy did hand pass that ball before the hooter sounded. He didn't hand pass the ball before the TG Cahir clock went off, though. But he hand passed it before the hooter sounded in the stadium. And the other thing as well that would, to be honest, piss me off if I was a Roscommon fan is I don't even think it was a free initially over on the touchline. I thought it was a soft enough free in for Kerry. So yeah, tough to take for Roscommon. They were fantastic. And genuinely, like when we do our predictions, you see it's a little bit of a victim of those. Like those clips are great to pump out, but like you don't see the context. Like we're saying on the preview show, we're not saying that we think Roscommon are going to get hammered. We're just saying it's going to be cutthroat. Like Aaron, you have Roscommon on 5 points, is it? Like
three teams on 5 points.
We think they're going to compete really, really well. We just think that Division 1 is so cutthroat. Like Tyrone went down last year with 7 points. That's an example I'll always go back to. The bar is so high. And I'm delighted to say, lads, that Matthew Hurley has joined us, fresh from Páirc Caoimh, and you've got the Southern Star jacket on. Good to have you with us, Matthew.
Yeah, great to be here, lads. Obviously, after a good day, I suppose, for Cork today, getting 2 wins. It was cutthroat, I would say, the football, but the hurling, very, very comfortable. And to be honest, it wasn't great towards the end. You nearly feel sorry for Waterford in many ways. I know we'll get on to the hurling in a sec, but that wasn't a vintage Waterford performance at all. But look, it was a good day for Cork overall and a good weekend. I'm actually glad I'm entering right now because the Kerry Roscommon game, I only seen bits of the story, and from what you were saying, Séamus, I got it completely wrong there, so I wouldn't have known much about it. So I would let you lads crack on away with that. So I just haven't had time to look at the other games and whatever. Obviously, I looked at the scores and stuff, but yeah, it seemed like a bit of a crazy game there.
Yeah, no, it was, and Roscommon absolutely put up a fantastic display, and it's a very, very good start for Dowd in there as manager. Then we've run through the comments here. Kevin says Tyrone don't even have an excuse to putting out their B team. They should have half a dozen players from the 20 championships who should brush Kildare aside. Daniel says Mayo fan here, very happy with the start. It's amazing what happens when football is played. Kind of happy Galway came back into it, because there would be a lot of Mayo fans getting cocky too soon. Mayo looked fantastic, and to be honest, I thought they showed great composure as well when Galway did come back at them, and the defending at the end, Jesus, like throwing themselves in front of Galway shots. Can't ask for much more than that. John Miller says Rossi's had 3 goal chances saved and 10 other chances for points kicked short or wide. That's another thing that needs to be taken into account when they're looking back at the game, is that the game was also there for them, even if that winner didn't go over from Tomas Kennedy. Peter says good start for Andy Moore in Galway's backyard. Shane says I'd rather the old hooter system. Jay says spot on, Liam. That is why they shouldn't have changed the hooter rule. Gaelic guy says why does the hooter system keep changing? And Garrod here as well. Yeah, also Roscommon didn't have the St. Bridges players. That's another very, very good idea. Stephen Conlon, are you guys going to start league on the fantasy football hurling on Score Bio? That's Liam. You've thrown in that idea. Maybe we could. That's a good idea.
My problem is I apparently missed the deadline, so I got no points this week. And I'm absolutely raging because Darren McCarthy did well last night. Adam Screeney did well today. I'm even trying to see what my football team. Stephen Sherlock got points. Apparently I forgot to fill in a number 8 as well, so that's on me. And Keith O'Neill did well. David Clifford got me 19 points. I'm raging, but anyway, that's just my luck this weekend.
Yeah, one of my midfielders has gone missing as well. I don't know what's happened.
Yeah, Sean says, what was wrong with the hooter last year? Nothing, Sean. I do think like Score Bio is such a fantastic app. Like I really think that should be backed with like proper funding. Like 100%. If it isn't, I don't know if it is. I know that there's obviously sponsors on it, but I like everyone who works in media in the GAA has Score Bio and uses Score Bio all the time. Every GAA fan uses Score Bio, so we need to treat it with the respect that it's deserved, in my opinion, and back the hell out of it, because this is a fantastic idea to do the fantasy GAA. And I would be saying, let's really go for this. Like, let's do it the right way. Have it on a level that the Fantasy Premier League is, for example. Peter here saying Scorpio is class. It's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, we'll talk about the game as well, because we do have to. Matthew, you put it yourself perfectly. Return of the King. David Clifford back, a goal and 9 points. Like, the guy he's different class.
He's just unreal. And like last week, he didn't have his best game in the McGrath final. He only got a point. For him to score 1-9 today, shut up maybe a few doubters, if there was any. Like, he was a vintage David Clifford performance, if there was something out of that, and it was a very good.
If you're doubting David Clifford at this time, I think you're a bit stupid.
Yeah, I think many people thought he might be rested for this stage of the year, but no, he's not. He's not resting at all. He's still pumping out some brilliant performances. I suppose from a Kerry point of view, look, Roscommon performed brilliantly by the looks of the results and by the looks of the scores. Dermot Murtagh got 1-6, Darragh Craig got 9 points. By the looks of those performances, they looked very, very good, and they might shut up a few doubters later on down the league. I don't want to burst the bubble too much, but Kerry played a lot of, I would say, inexperienced players. As you mentioned there, Tomas Kennedy got 1-2 today, but I think that was his first senior start for Kerry. Liam Smith midfield as well. You had a very inexperienced kind of Kerry team. I know you had the likes of Sean O'Shea, Joe Connery, David Clifford, but you had a lot of newbies, if that's a kind of a word from a Kerry point of view as well. So it's an argument to say Kerry will kick into gear once it comes to March, April, May. That's when they'll kick into gear. I don't think they'll kick into gear right away, and that's initially why I said they'd finish 4th in Division 1. I don't think they'll play their real heavy hitters until later on down the league. Like, the Dingle players were partying yesterday, so I don't think they're in the mood. I don't think the young Gaeltacht players are in the mood either. The likes of Brino and Begley. So look, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for Kerry. Let them have their rest, let them have their celebrations and whatever. I'm sure we'll get onto those celebrations in a bit as well. Yeah. There was a really big crowd down in Dingle with the 6 Munster champions. It seemed a great crack. But yeah, they're well entitled to celebrate, and I just feel like Jack O'Hannor's right to give these young players a chance. Like the likes of Tomas Kennedy, a lot of comparisons made with him and Tommy Walsh I've seen from the Kerry media. Mm-hmm. He seems like a very, very good player, a very good baller, and the AFL were looking at him apparently, but the AFL haven't got him for this season, at least. I think to Kerry's relief in many ways, because Ben Murphy has already gone down there. Obviously Mark O'Connor over the last few years as well. So I think they're relieved that Tomas is staying around. The question mark is, will he start full forward in Kerry come championship time, or will the likes of Paul Gainey continue his form from Dingle into the inter-county scene?
Yeah. Do you know, just genuinely, like, before we move into the rest of the games, what you're realizing now is, like, we're just getting banger after banger after banger. Like, I'm looking through the results, and, like, we're so spoiled now. We're in a golden era of Gaelic football. Like, Galway Mayo was a great game. Dublin Donegal, I thought, was very enjoyable. Like, so many great games. And you look back to last weekend, like, the unbelievable All-Ireland club football final. Like, it's pretty much, like, week after week, we're guaranteed cracking games. And, like, I think when we forget how boring it was before the rules came along. But anyway, Matthew, question here directly for you from Peter, and then we'll jump back into Division 1, because obviously we're at 24 minutes and we still have a lot to get through. So, but just a quick question from Peter. He says, were you happy with the Cork footballers, and was there a good crowd in the Páirc for the Rebel doubleheader?
I'll probably answer the second question, because maybe we'll talk about Division 2 in just a bit, but was there a good crowd? I think there wasn't for the first half. I'd say there was about expected, really, for the footballers, 2,000, 3,000, if that, I would say. But then when it came to the end, and when Cork were getting back into the game, to be fair, the hurling fans started to stream in, and then they were kind of noticing Cork were making a comeback, and then the crowd got behind them. So that was a positive, I think, in terms of that. In terms of the performance, we'll get on to it in just a sec with the Division 2, but there was aspects of it that I wasn't really pleased with. But look, I will say this, a win's a win. We win by a point. I don't care if we win by a point. I don't care if we win by a cheat or whatever. We've won a game. We're on 2 points in Division 2. I'm not complaining over that. But look, there is some aspects of the performance that need to be improved on for next week against Louth. John Cleary did say that in the post-match interview afterwards. And yeah, look, we'll see next week. But look, it wasn't the best performance. Win's a win, though.
Yeah,
Fair
no, definitely, like, especially in a Shark Tank like Division 2 where it's so cutthroat and one win can put you like up the top versus down the bottom. Like, it's gonna be nothing between second and seventh in Division 2 this year. So for Cork, that's a big win. Anyway, we'll move on though. Congratulations to Kerry on the win. Congratulations to Roscommon. We'll move on to the next game in Division 1. This one was the clash in the West between Galway and Mayo at Pearse Stadium. Mayo beginning the Andy Moran era with a win against their most fierce rivals, 318 to 218 in Pearse Stadium. And you have to say, it was very impressive. Mayo kicking off the Andy Moran era with a win away in Galway. And interestingly as well, lads, some very nice 2-pointers from Mayo. We've been talking about how they need to add some. Jack Carney as well, as Sean O'Malley here says in the comments. Jack Carney getting a beautiful 2-pointer right on the halftime whistle, or in halftime hooter, sorry. How did you think, Aaron, how did you think that Mayo looked in this game? It was a very good contest, back and forth. There was a period where Mayo looked like they were going to run away with it early in the second half. Then Galway staged their fight back and Mayo hang on.
Yeah, they look very good, Mayo. Like, I think one of the big criticisms of Mayo in recent seasons, especially under Kevin McStay, is that they've been very passive in terms of how they play. Very predictable, very boring. They've played a very similar style, really, to they had even under James Horan as well. If anything, it was probably a lot more calmer, though, and it was a lot more keep ball and running the ball into blind alleys and everything else. And yeah, last season it was very evident that they didn't take 2-pointers on, but in this game they absolutely did that. Like, they were. It was kind of back to like the organised chaos, the best of Mayo, I think, you know, down the years, where Mayo would be so unpredictable in terms of how they play. They'd run at you from all angles. They'd 1v1, take players on. They'd be kicking the ball. They'd be, you know, hitting you from all angles, really. And that's what Mayo were doing. Like, they were mixing it up brilliantly. They were running at the Galway defence when they needed to, but they were also kicking it as well when they needed to. And a lot of big players stepped up with 2-pointers, like Ryan O'Donoghue kicked a few. Robert Henley as well. Like, you have to give him a huge amount of credit. 3 2-pointers in total, 6 points overall. Like, he was absolutely outstanding, and probably man of the match. Made a few big saves as well. But yeah, like, they did a few new additions in the side. Like, Dara Byrne was very impressive, only 19 as well, so new player in the Mayo ranks, scored a goal and a point. Aidan O'Shea still, doing his all tricks and everything else, kind of in and around the square, getting on the end of goals and everything else. So yeah, a lot of positives, I think, if you're a Mayo supporter. Like, they were very positive. They were very on the front foot. For Galway, there were worrying signs there, but I think they'll take a lot of pleasure in the fact that they made this game a contest towards the end, because they were 11 points down at one stage, and you were thinking, geez, Mayo could really put an absolute hiding on Galway here in this. They'll be disappointed with the defeat, but at least they did make a good go of it in the second half.
Peter here saying Rob Henley, man the match, reeling in the years, had retired but came back. Gaelic Guy says looked like a hammering at stages. Sean O'Malley saying very good additions in Dara Byrne, Cian McHale and Rob Henley. There's no question about it. Like, Rob Henley moved to Raheny in Dublin, and when I was covering the club championships in Dublin, like, Rob Henley is as good at kicking 2-pointers as you'll find, and bringing him back into the fold is massive for Mayo, because that means that they kind of have that same threat that Monaghan have with Rory Beggan. I'm not saying that Henley is as good at as Beggan as the 2-pointers, but that you can't foul right beside the 2-pointer arc against Mayo, because Henley will more than likely score, and that's a hell of a weapon to have in the pack for Mayo. Like, there's no question about it, and it's one that they did lack in previous years, and some big players weren't playing for them in this game. The likes of Matthew Ruan wasn't there, and yet they still looked fantastic against their biggest rivals away from home. And as a comment earlier said, like, I'd be very happy if I was Andy Moran. That's pretty much a perfect start, because in stages you looked fantastic. Like, Ryan O'Donoghue was fantastic. Aidan O'Shea was brilliant. Calling back Rob Henley looks like a genius move, because he adds that 2-pointer threat to Mayo, and his goalkeeping in general looked really sharp. Cian McHale with a lovely goal off the bench. They look really good, Mayo. And the thing is that Galway came back at them, and Mayo's steel held firm, and their defending going down the home stretch was brilliant. The way that they were throwing themselves in front of those shots, making sure that they were not going to get overturned. And it's a good start. And I said from the beginning that I thought Andy Moran would want to make a splash coming in as Mayo boss. I think that the worst thing you want is to be in a relegation battle when you've just joined as manager. And I thought that Mayo would go for the league a little bit harder than everybody else. And yeah, I think I've picked them to win this game. And the challenge will be now for the rest of the league campaign, when it's not day one, it's not game one where you can pin it on a map from months out in advance. How do you prepare for a game just next week? Liam, I'll go to you next. What did you make of Mayo in this game?
Well, I suppose, first of all, them getting 2 pointers is absolutely crucial, considering last year was one of the biggest things that we criticised about them. It felt like it was only Ryan O'Donoghue who was able to kick 2 pointers, because after that, they just seemed like a team that were very passive. They were nearly too afraid to either take them on, or they didn't have belief that they could. And it was probably one of the things that kind of let them down last year. But yeah, seeing Rob Henley, look, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's an excellent goalkeeper. I think he's been a great stalwart for Mayo over the years, and to see him back in the mix is fantastic to see. And I mean, listen, if he's able to kick 3 2-pointers in the middle of January, then, you know, it could be setting himself up really nicely for the summer months ahead. But yeah, no, very positive performance. I have to say, Aidan O'Shea, again, he's someone who I was kind of wondering, look, I thought he had an excellent year last year, to be fair to him. But just considering his age and after everything he's given to Mayo football over the years, you would sort of wonder, you know, is he going to pack it in? Is he going to give it another year? Is he still going to be a starter in the team? I mean, he got his goal today, but after that, I mean, from some of the brief clips that I've seen, he looked very, very good. And it just shows you that when you're still as committed as him, when you're still in the shape that he's in and everything like that, it just shows you. And journalists as well, I notice it with a lot of counties, everyone kind of wants to bring in, say, the younger players or the fresh new players, whatever. Sometimes having that little bit of experience does kind of help. Do you know, it does actually help you. It helps the younger players amongst your panel as well. It just helps morale in a squad as well, I think. And O'Shea seems to be a character as well. So, you know, I'm actually kind of happy for him. I think he gets too much stick at times, to be honest with you. I think he's been a great footballer for Mayo. And look, fierce unlucky not to have an All-Ireland medal in his back pocket. But that, I don't think that should, no different to Lee Keegan, I don't think that should define him for his football career, to be honest with you. But look, great win for Mayo. For Galway, look, not ideal. We kind of mentioned, was it even on the podcast that went live, that it was the 2024 All-Ireland defeat that really hurt Mayo rather than 2022, and they kind of underperformed last year. I hope, yeah, Galway. I hope they don't underperform this year. Like, I hope they don't, because I do like watching this Galway team, and they have a lot of really nice players. I mean, sure, Robbie Finnerty is one of the best footballers in the country. Shane Walsh, Damien Comer, I'm struggling to think of his name now. Matthew Tierney.
Thompson is apparently coming back in May. Apparently.
Yeah. But yeah, I like this Galway.
It's already underway then, so.
Yeah, and I like Páirc Joyce as a manager as well, but I just hope they don't go into a slump like they did last year. That's what I felt like last year was a bit of a slump, to be honest with you. I hope they can kind of get back up to that level, because they are a team that's good enough to win an All-Ireland. Now, look, it's day one in the league, and look, the weather wasn't great today or anything like that. And Mayo, like you said, would have probably been more up for this than maybe Galway would have been, but it's certainly an eye-opener for them as they head forward to next weekend.
Yeah, no, they were good. Like, there's no question about it. At stages in the game, Galway, and some of their players did look sharp, but it was definitely Mayo's game. They were the better team, deserved the win. John here says, as a Mayo fan, I'd be happy with mid-table teams that go hard in the league are burnt out when it comes to championship. Mikey says, young Bob Dewey was really dominant in midfield for Mayo. His best game so far. A good fielder in midfield has been something Mayo lacked since Parsons and Séamus O'Shea retired. Peter here says, Andy's philosophy as a player was fast, snappy attacking play with confidence. And I do agree, like, you look at, it was a little bit more that kind of old Mayo, a bit organised chaos, like a bit, you know, heart in the mouth stuff. There were a few blocks on the line where you were thinking, watching telly, like, Jesus Christ, when Henley blocked it twice from Finnerty. Remember the second one? But yeah, they looked a little bit back to themselves. And I think with Andy Moran, I really believe with Andy Moran, they've made the perfect appointment, because they've hired in someone who knows the dynamic of that dressing room perfectly, and they've got someone in who has done a very good job, I thought, with Leitrim. I thought he was underrated in terms of how well he had them moving. And then in the backroom team at Monaghan there, picked up some tricks there. Like, I think he's the perfect appointment, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this project goes. Sean says, to be honest, I think the All-Ireland has passed Galway by. Their squad is getting older, and I just think other counties are catching up. To be honest, I think it's probably gone. I don't know. Like, I'd be surprised if Galway win the All Ireland this year, where I wouldn't have been that surprised last year at the beginning of the year. I'd be a little like, I do definitely have them lower on my list in terms of who I'm expecting to win. Magdalene Woods here saying, why were Mayo favourites going in according to the bookies? I just think that, like, people thought that Mayo were going to try hit the ground running under Andy Moran, and Galway have been slow in beginning the league in previous years. Mikey here says Kieran Mulhern is one of the best footballers in the country when he's on it. Galway have all the pieces of the puzzle. It's just fitness issues and peaking at the right time. And Gaelic guy here says 2023-24 were the chances for Galway to win it. Okay, but congratulations to Mayo. Great start to the league campaign. And also one more thing, the little bit of handbags adds to the contest, doesn't it? Because there wasn't a dirty belt thrown, but you were like, oh God, this rivalry's class. But anyway, we'll move on to this game. Dublin 20 points, Donegal 120. Anyway, moving on to Monaghan versus, only messing, we'll talk about it. Dublin 20 points, Donegal 120 in Croke Park.
You sure?
Aaron, what did you make of this? Obviously, Jerry Brennan's first game at the wheel in the league. Obviously, he had the O'Byrne Cup clashes and stuff like that. But the Donegal game was always going to be a test. Under the bright lights at Croke Park, Donegal get the win. And it was 2 pointers that made the difference, because interestingly, by the old rules, this game would have finished a draw. Donegal kicked 5 2-pointers, Dublin kicked 2. Is that the only difference, or is there more to why Donegal won?
Yeah, like I think there's a few things really. Like, I think, like, first of all, there was a lot of new players within the team. There was a lot of fresh faces in.
Oh no,
I think it was a bad time to ask Aaron.
We haven't seen the cup when they played and everything else. Am I lagging, or what's going on here?
Yeah, you were lagging badly there, man.
like you look like you were freestyling Eminem there, the way it was just moving.
Yeah, it sped up, and then all of a sudden the mouth was like Rap God. That video, like.
Yeah. Am I? Is it a little bit better now, or?
Yeah, it's better now. It's better now. If you want to give us what you said.
Yeah, we'll go for it anyway. Yeah, no, look, overall, like, from a Dublin perspective, like, there was things to be positive about, but there was also, I think, good parts of it to not be too happy about. There was a lot of fresh faces in the team, so there was a few new players and everything else who came into the squad, which kind of was obviously something new with this Dublin side. And look, Donegal are a seasoned team, you know, like, they start the leagues a lot better, start the leagues a lot faster. They were missing a lot of key players as well, but yeah, like, it was, you know, like, it was kind of similar maybe to Galway in some sense. At one stage you were kind of looking at it and thinking, geez, Donegal are probably going to beat us by 8, 9, maybe 10 points here, but then we managed to kind of pull it back to 3 and managed to pull it back to a 1-score game. But like, Conor O'Callaghan was brilliant in the first half. Luke Bretnock, I think, is definitely going to be an option for Dublin when he came off the bench. He was very good, 5 points. Midfield, really struggling. Kickouts as well were really poor. Like, we couldn't really get anything from kickouts at all. Too slow in terms of kicking the ball out, but also in terms of the setup. Like, the amount of times I've seen Dublin players with their back to the keeper. Like, and I'm like, lads, like, turn around, like, move, like, create a bit of space. So Donegal were kind of easy in that regard. Look, ultimately, I predicted Donegal to win this game by 2. They won by 3, so, like, it'd be a bit weird if I got really annoyed after predicting what I thought, you know, after what I thought happened, did happen. But yeah, like, it was frustrating at the same time, because Donegal missed a lot of chances in the first half. Don't think they were at full tilt. I definitely think they were there for the beating, you know, there for the taking. So, look, definitely some positives, but it's early days yet, so you can't get annoyed or carried away or anything like that.
It's when you look, though, at who Donegal were missing. No Michael Murphy, no Oisin Gallen, like, big players not there for Donegal. And I actually thought Mulroney in goal looked really, really good. So it was going to include Sean Patton in that, but, like, obviously Mulroney had a great game. There's no question about it. Donegal they're the finished article, in my opinion, in terms of they have to go for an All-Ireland now. They're not a team in transition. They're not a team putting stuff together. Donegal right now, the goal has to be an All-Ireland, and it is nothing but an All-Ireland. Jim McGuinness would not still be here if they were just in a rebuild. Like, they are trying to win the All-Ireland now. Michael Murphy is not sticking around for one more year at 36. You know, to try win one more Ulster. They're gonna win, and they're trying to win the All-Ireland here, and they believe that they were good enough last year, in my opinion, to win it. I think the game against Kerry, I think that they didn't play to the level that they're capable of, to be honest. Kerry were fantastic, but I don't think Donegal played at the level that they're capable of. Gaelic guy here says Donegal always seemed to be 2 steps ahead in the game. And especially going down the home stretch, like I did see Aaron, obviously Daniel Hussey as well on Ireland AM. He was talking about it, that Dublin in the ground, I'd be interested to know what were the fans on the hill like, because you were watching it on the telly and there was a couple of times that Dublin players, this is what Daniel Hussey was saying, that Dublin a few times stepped right inside the 40-metre arc and kicked it over the bar instead of going for the 2-pointer going down the home stretch. And then Donegal would go up the other end and Michael Langan would probably land the 2-pointer. Was it frustrating in the ground where fans kind of pointing it out that, like, why are we not going for the 2-pointers when we're trying to come back into the game?
Absolutely, yeah. There was huge frustration from some of the supporters, and there was definitely a few kind of moments in the game that were a little bit frustrating. I feel like we just kind of fell back into old habits, really, in terms of 2-pointers. Like, we didn't really. It was strange. Like, in the first half, we were going for 2-pointers.
Con got one right away.
Yeah, and even in the O'Byrne Cup as well. Like, it was very, very evident we were going for it. And I don't know, in the second half, it just felt like we got into good positions, but it just felt like we kind of fell back into that kind of old habits that we had under Desi, where we're trying to recycle the ball and wait for the right moment and shooting zones and all this kind of nonsense. You know what I mean? Like, that's gone out the window really since the rules have come in. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, like, we kind of struggled in regards to that, and like there was a lot of play. Like, when you actually look at Dublin's like starting 15 as well, like we had like only two of the starting forwards scored. Do you know what I mean? And Con and Paddy Small couldn't really get the ball to the right players. Like, I don't know if you need to. I think we were missing someone like a Kieran Kilkenny or someone of that nature who could maybe take the opportunity on. You know, when you look at our half forward line, you had Brian Howard and Killy McGuinness in there as well. You know, we're playing with like those lads play midfield a lot of the time as well. You know, especially McGuinness. So I think, yeah, we're missing a few players there. Definitely was a lot of frustration, I think, with Dublin fans on the hill. I think just because of last season and not taking those chances on. Like, I wouldn't mind if they took the chances on and missed. At least, right, we're going for it. But yeah, there was a real reluctance to take them on, which was frustrating.
Yeah, like, I did think it at full time, and it's not in any way a diss or anything like that towards the team. It absolutely isn't. But I seen, like, for example, I seen a TikTok of Dublin's starting team in the 2017 All-Ireland final against Mayo, and it's one of the best starting 15s I've ever seen. Like, it's ridiculous, the talent that was in that squad. That was the best team that Gaelic football has ever seen. That 6 in a row winning Dublin team. And you can make the argument for the Kerry team in the 80s because most of that team stayed the same throughout their 4 in a row, and that's a good argument. But the reality is, look, that Dublin team was just freakishly good. They were an irreplaceable, all those players that have retired. And the reality is that no matter who follows that team on, the standard of the team probably won't be the same as it was in 2017, 2018, 2019. But most of the Dublin fans still expect that level of, you know, victory and Leinster championships and getting to the All-Ireland final and everything like that. And the reality is, before Gilroy and Jim Gavin, Dublin didn't win All-Ireland for 16 years, and getting to an All-Ireland final, we didn't even get to a final for 16 years. So the reality is I don't think we're heading into a barren spell like that. But I'm saying that it can become rapidly quick. Like, you look at Kilkenny in the hurling, for example, absolutely dominant under Brian Cody. All of a sudden, 2015, the last few crop out of that golden generation, like Henry Shefflin, JJ Delaney, they retire. And all of a sudden, it's 2026 and Kilkenny haven't won an All-Ireland since. What I'm saying is sometimes the transition from arguably one of the greatest teams of all time can be difficult. And what I'm saying is that Ger Brennan it's a difficult job. It's a difficult job. There's no question about it. He's not taking a team that are absolutely primed and ready to go for an All-Ireland. He's taking a team that is, whether we like it or not, in transition. They're in transition from one of the greatest teams of all time at the end of the 2010s into the 2020s into this new crop now that are following it. And what's interesting as well, and Aaron, I'd love to get your take on it, is because of how talented the team was in the 2010s, we had a lot of players like Aaron Byrne, for example, under 21 footballer of the year. Not a chance of getting into a half forward line of Paul Flynn, Kieran Kilkenny, Diarmuid Connolly. You had Kieran Archer scoring a record tally at under 20 level. No place for you in a full forward line of Paul Mannion, Conor O'Callaghan, Dean Rock. So what happened is there was like a bit of a generation there of no matter how talented you were, you probably weren't getting into the senior team. And a lot of those players now aren't even really playing that much with their club. Like Aaron Byrne wasn't playing for Nafina this year, as far as I know. So it's like the age gap as well between the players is quite wide compared to other teams. Or am I mistaken in saying that? Oh no, it's frozen again.
Oh no.
I thought he was really, really considering the question. Anyway, lads, Liam, I'll throw it over to you, and I'll throw a different question to you. Because when Aaron was talking there, one of the points that he made really, really well was the kickouts and the difficulties that we were having with the kickouts. There was a Brian Fenton shaped hole in that midfield there in terms of the difference that he would make to the game. We have a lot of options around the middle. Ethan Dunn, Matthew, you called for him in the live pod in studio that Ethan Dunn should be looked at. He got a run out. He did look good, but the reality is we did struggle on the kick-outs, Slim.
Yeah, no, and like you said there, trying to replace the players the caliber of Brian Fenton, James McCarthy in the middle of the park, it's not going to happen overnight. Oh, Aaron's gone. It's not going to happen overnight. You know, it's going to take time. It's as simple as that. It's no different to who's going to replace TJ Reid for Kilkenny. You know, you're not going to get these players up to that level overnight, and it is something that Dublin are probably going to have to fix. And actually, what was more worrying for me than the kickouts was maybe the 2-pointers, because anytime that Donegal were going for 2-pointer kicks, it's almost like they kind of had time and space to either go through the middle and try and sort themselves for a goal or kick a 2-pointer. Whereas for Dublin, anytime they were trying to kick a 2-pointer, they were getting swarmed and swarmed and swarmed. There was 3 or 4 Donegal players on them within a millisecond. Do you know what I mean? So that's probably one area that they're going to have to work on. But I still think listen, I know Donegal were missing players, but at the end of the day, that was still a good Donegal team that was out there, and Dublin lost by 3 points. It's still nothing at the end of the day. 3 points is a score. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? 2 scores and you win the game. So I still think that Brennan has a good panel there. I think he will do well with this Dublin team. Like he didn't do well with Louth for nothing. Do you know what I mean? So I think he will do well with this Dublin team. But like you mentioned there, look, the kickouts is something that Dublin are going to have to work on. But it was also the first like proper game they've had this year. And look, is it Mayo you have up next? That's the perfect opportunity to go. Yeah, that's the perfect opportunity to go and maybe work on that, and especially in another inter-county.
Castlebar will be bouncing though. I'm not looking forward to that. They'll be baying for blood. Look, I think the reality is like this result is kind of similar to the Donegal result. I'm not saying for 1 second the Dublin team that we have now is still superbly talented. It's still a fantastic team. We still have the likes of Con, Paddy Small, like really, really top players. But the point that I was making is when you look at the team in the 2010s where we were head and shoulders above everybody else, we're not quite that anymore. We've slipped back into the pack a little bit. We still have to be considered for the All-Ireland, but we're not as far ahead of everybody else as we once were. And look, I don't think any team is ever going to be as good as that team was for a long time anyway. We have a couple of great comments in here. Sean here talking about me saying to you, Aaron, about players, you know, just being right player, wrong era. Conor McHugh, his interview the other day saying they're not leaving the Dublin panel while they were in their prime during the golden age. It's a great point, Sean. He's a perfect example because he was a really, really good inside forward, but just you're not getting ahead of Mannion. You're not getting ahead of Dean Rock, Bernard Brogan, Con, even Paddy Jews. Yeah, like players like that, you forget how good he was. Peter here saying all great legacy teams go through transition. I think Limerick will probably end up experiencing the same thing when the likes of, you know, Tom Morrissey, Hegarty, those boys step away. where I think we'll see similar with who replaces Declan Hannon. But anyway, great question here from Mikey. He says, question for the lads, how many counties see this year as Sam Maguire or bust where nothing less would do? Matthew, I'll throw this to you.
Off the top of my head, Galway, Donegal.
Kerry? For Jack O'Connor?
Well, they won it last year. So I don't know.
But Jack's sticking to try with back-to-back now.
He is, absolutely. So maybe so. So maybe them 3. Mayo are still pretty young, like Dara Byrne and Cian McHale. I know there's Raymond Scrape and Banton on Ireland, but I don't think those players are in a particular hurry. Armagh won one, so I don't think they're in a particular hurry. Monaghan.
Sean is saying Derry as well.
But you look at Derry, I know we'll get on to Division 2 in a second, but you look at Derry last night, I think Derry are miles off All-Ireland. Honestly. I think
Aaron there.
Aaron smiles off the podcast.
No, but honestly, I think look, I know we'll get on to Division 2, but I think look at Derry, their record, the bad momentum, if that's a kind of a word as well. I just feel like they're way, way off at All-Ireland. Derry, so I wouldn't put them in that bracket. So who are we saying? Donegal, Galway?
I would say Galway, Donegal. I wouldn't say Kerry in general, but I'd say just Jack O'Connor will be desperate to do it so that he's then done back to back. But I think I don't think Kerry would be looking to get rid of him if they don't win the All Ireland. So I won't say that, but for me, it's Galway and Donegal that are the 2.
So you're saying two in terms of counties, but in terms of the overall spectrum, 3.
In terms of the overall spectrum tree, yeah, I'd say Jack, because I think Jack O'Connor might go regardless.
Yeah.
He wins back to back. I think he'll peace out on a high. But I think if they don't, I could see him trying to stay and do it again because I think it genuinely would. It would bother me, to be honest. Gavin here saying the Armagh team in the 2000s should have won more. So I'd say Armagh again now. That's a very, very good point.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking Armagh, to be fair.
Armagh might want to make hay while they have this team right now, and we'll get on to them next because by God, they look good. Monaghan 18 points, Armagh 127. I'm just gonna peace out and leave you to it, lads, because I said Monaghan would win this game, so clearly I don't know what's going on. But what was it about this game? Liam, you predicted Armagh to get into the Division 1 final, and you must have been happy with how they began their league campaign here.
Yeah, for a moment when I saw this result earlier, I was worried because I predicted Monaghan to come fourth. But then when I realized I predicted Armagh to come second, I was like, okay, I still look somewhat okay. But yeah, look, that's a great result, honestly, for Armagh to go away to a tricky ground in Monaghan and not even just to win, but to put up 127 as well. That's a very, very impressive scoreline, and I can imagine that that they'll want to get themselves up and running fairly quickly this season, especially after the way that they exited the All-Ireland last year in the fashion that they did to Kerry, with the second half that Kerry had. I can imagine that Kieran McGeeney will absolutely want to be gunning to try and just win as many possible games this year. And I know some teams can peter out, during the league campaign, whatever. But as we saw last year, Cork took the league seriously. They won the league. They got to an All-Ireland final. Kerry, you can argue that they maybe didn't take the league seriously enough. They still won it, and they went on to win an All-Ireland. So I could see Armagh probably trying to do maybe something similar. But in terms of the game today, you had Conor Turbot scoring 6 points. You had Oisin O'Neill scoring 3 points. McConville scoring 3 points. Some really good performances there. Oisin Connolly scoring 2 points. So yeah, and Andrew Mernon, who I think I had him in my fantasy team. He must have been kicked out for some reason, but he scored 1-3. 1-3 from midfield. Jared O'Burns, who I really like as a footballer as well. I think he's going to make the wing-back position his own this year. He got 3 points. So yeah, really positive performance from Armagh. For Monaghan, it's a disappointing enough performance. The only 3 of their forwards, their starting forwards, scored, which is probably a bit of a concern for them. But look, I don't know off the top of my head how many of the Scottstown players that they had available to them today. But look, I would give them the benefit of the doubt that they maybe, even if they did have them, they're probably not fully up to scratch considering the season that they just had. So I think Monaghan will still be okay, but that's a big statement victory from Armagh.
It certainly is. Gaelic guy here saying if Armagh win Ulster, we can party through the whole of Sam for all I care. That would complete the set, and the fact that they've been so close to doing it as well. is definitely on the mind. Gaelic guy here saying 126 from play without any 2-pointers is an impressive output. So no complaints. That's so impressive. That's so impressive. Mikey here saying, what will it take for Kieran McGeady to step down winning the Ulster title? I truly believe he wants that Ulster title. And I think if they win it this year, Armagh, which I could easily see them doing, then he's got it all. He's won the All-Ireland and Ulster as a player and as a manager. Peter here saying he wants one more All-Ireland. I wouldn't rule that out either. But I think the Ulster Championship, I think if you force them to pick one, Ulster or All-Ireland.
Same with Clare and Hurling.
Yeah, again with Clare and Hurling, yeah. Gavin here saying, no offense to Liam and Aaron, don't get me wrong. I hate Andy Moran, obviously having a Roscommon man, but I don't get Monaghan above Mayo, and he's a brilliant coach. And obviously after the beginning, Mayo looking pretty strong. But look, for Monaghan, that's one game against a brilliant Armagh side. We'll see what they're like in round 2. And the reality is I've written Monaghan off plenty of times to be relegated on the pod in previous years, and they ended up relegating Dublin one of the years to stay up. So I'm definitely going to bite my tongue on doing that in the future. But that's Division 1 rounded up and recapped. Aaron, I'll go to you first though, because you've always been an admirer of this Armagh side. You said it years before they won the All-Ireland that this team had the capability of doing so. Obviously some big players not around for the opening of the league, the likes of Rian O'Neill, Rory Grug and Jamar Hall. But who caught your eye in this one?
Yeah, I think Cian McConville. I think he was the big one really, because he's been knocking about for a good couple of years with Crossmaglen, and I know I've seen some kind of top scorer charts and everything else of the Armagh Championship through the years, and he's kind of been quite high up on that list, if not the top scorer, at least the second top scorer, and obviously a very young footballer as well. So it's probably been one of them, a bit like what you were saying with some of the Dublin lads who couldn't quite get into the team. I think Cian McConville's probably had similar as well. When you've had Stephen Campbell and Oisin Connaughty, Rian O'Neill, all these lads, with some of them obviously having left the team, Stephen Campbell retired, Rian O'Neill obviously being unavailable, it's freed up a space for him. So good to see him involved. Oisin O'Neill as well, he's been in very good form, especially in the McKenna Cup. He was scoring some brilliant 2-pointers. And I've always thought he's been very underrated. I think maybe because of how good Rian is. But I remember, I don't know, I remember he scored a point from his own half a couple of years ago. He something outrageous. He's a very, very good player. So yeah, good to kind of have him in the side. And yeah, for Armagh, because especially with losing a couple of players, you do need to kind of keep the young lads kind of coming through, and they have found a few in recent seasons, like Oisin Connaughty and Joe McElroy and a few lads like that. So yeah, Armagh, I definitely say there's definitely a top 3, I think, in the country, and I think Armagh are in that. I think there's Kerry, Donegal, Armagh. Could argue Tyrone maybe are probably the closest to breaking into that top 3, but that's kind of how I'd have it at the moment.
Well, maybe not after this weekend. We'll get into that game later. Armagh, of course, making a great start to their Division 1 campaign. And that's round 1 of Division 1 recapped. And as we are cooked, this is going to be a long episode. Just we've so much to talk about. We'll jump straight into Division 2. And Matthew, I'll go straight across to you because you were at this game. Cork 24 points, Cavan 217. In terms of consequences for both teams, this could be huge because both sides, I think it's fair to say, are in that kind of 2nd to 7th range. Stephen Sherlock, you hyped up his return to the Cork panel, and we've just seen his impact there. What a score to snatch the win for the Rebels.
Yeah, it was absolutely superb. I wasn't really hyping it up to the extent that I say Liam has. I think Liam put it in the fantasy team, but it was just a shame he didn't start the game. Brian Hurley started today. But look, I just think he is a difference maker. He's an absolutely incredible footballer, and I think the biggest compliment I could give to Stephen Sherlock is we were a point down against Cavan. He was outside the 2-point range. It was a free, but I just knew he was going to stick it. I knew he was going to score. He's just a superb footballer, and he's just thriving under these new rules. And Cork, when Paddy Lynch got a 2-pointer, this was a crucial moment in the game. Paddy Lynch got a 2-pointer after Cork broke a breach I don't know what happened in the middle of the park. It was just kamikaze stuff, I'd imagine. And then Cavan went up, got the 2 points through Paddy Lynch, who didn't start the game. I don't know, was he injured or did Dermot didn't want to risk him or whatever, but he did come on and he made a massive difference to Cavan. I think he got 3 points in this game coming off the bench. I thought he was superb. And when he got that 2-pointer, Cavan went 7 points up. And I thought at that stage, I'm going to get embarrassed here by my predictions. I'm going to get ridiculed and Cavan are going to win this game here. But to be fair to the players, they bounced back. It was a brilliant showing towards the end of it. Stephen Sherlock got a couple of 2-pointers, obviously. Chris O'Jones hit a brilliant point as well. I will say this guy didn't score after coming on, but I have to mention him. Dara Sheedy, this guy is under 20. He's part of the under 20 panel again next year. He's 19 or 20 years of age. He was only minor under 17 back in 2023. He was a player that did very well against the likes of Kerry and Dublin back then in the minor football championship. John Cleary threw him on, and to be fair, he performed absolutely brilliantly, not just in the forwards, but I seen him actually collect the ball in the defence of Patrick Doyle's kickout. And I was like, I don't want him back there, obviously. He's a forward, but at the same time, it is just it's so good of the lad, in fairness, that he works so hard for the team. He's not one of the experienced players on the panel, but you could see he added the energy, he added the spark into that Cork attack in so many ways. And I think he was absolutely brilliant when he did come on. Sean McDonald at some stages was very good from a Cork point of view as well. I think the criticism really, we didn't hold Darragh McVitie at all from a Cavan point of view. He was named as number 6, but he played around the corner forward position. He got 1-4 from play. We just didn't find a solution to stop him at all. That was quite a concern, in my opinion. Garrett McKiernan was quiet from Cavan point of view in the first half, but he drifted out in the second half and he caused a lot of wreck. Paddy Lynch, as I mentioned there, didn't start the game, but he came on. I think Kieran Brady of Armagh, the captain. There was 2 Kieran Brady, so that's quite confusing. A Kieran Brady of Corfin and a Kieran Brady of Armagh. But the Kieran Brady of Armagh got the goal in the second half, and it was a well-taken goal. But Cavan seemed to take goals, we didn't, and that was a big thing in this game as well as to why Cavan were so far ahead at some points in the game. But to be fair to the players, they bounced back. It's a crucial win. It wasn't the best performance, but they got the win in the end. And you move on to the Low game next week. And it's interesting now, both sides are after a win in round 1. So whoever wins that game next week, and considering Tyrone and Derry drop points this weekend, I think that's a huge game next week in RD between Louth and Cork already in the league season.
And just a quick question from Peter, who was in goal?
Patrick Doyle.
Very good. Okay, we'll move on to the next game. And Liam, I'll go straight across to you. Obviously, as an Offaly man, you got off to a defeat start. Louth coming away to O'Connor Park in Tullamore and winning by a goal in 21 to 19 points. The Leinster champions get their league campaign off to a winning start. Now, the question always was going to be, how are Louth going to deal again with another managerial switch? But one thing that seems to be pretty clear is there seems to be a system kind of overarching the managers, that whoever comes in, the wheel keeps turning. Whether Mickey Hart leaves, Ger Brennan comes in, nothing really changes. Ger Brennan leaves, Gavin Devlin comes in. Good start for Louth.
Yeah, and look, obviously I was in Nolan Park, but I was keeping up to date. I had a couple of friends who were keeping up to date with what was going on in Tullamore, and basically from what I gathered from them, Offaly were going really well in the first half. Their movement was good. They had a lot of good 2-pointers and they were playing some nice football. Supposedly our kickouts were the issue, and especially long-range kickouts, and maybe not taking them as quickly as we probably should have been. And yeah, I think going in 2 points ahead of halftime. Listen, going in ahead of halftime against Louth is obviously good and leading 14-11, but just second half, I think we ran out of legs and just didn't have enough off the bench maybe to make the impact that maybe we would have liked. Obviously, look, Craig Lennon and Sam Mulroy, from what I heard, had an absolute smashing game, which is absolutely no surprise to anybody. And Conor Early as well had a good game, which again is absolutely no surprise to anybody there. They're quality footballers. But yeah, look, from an Offaly perspective, from what I heard, Keith O'Neill had a very good game. Kieran Murphy got a nice 2-pointer in the first half. And there were some, Aaron's gone again. And there were some good performers across the board from our perspective. And look, at the end of the day, we are still going up against the Leinster champions in our opening game, which is never an easy thing to do. But look, Louth are a quality side, and there's no point saying otherwise. They are a very good team, and they're going to be a very, very solid unit this year, both in the league and in the Leinster Championship. And yeah, like you mentioned there, Matthew, their game against Cork next weekend is going to be a huge battle, potentially early on the season, to see who could potentially go up to Division 1. And for us, yeah, it's Kildare next weekend, away next weekend. And look, I know they drew with Tyrone, but I still have faith in our lads that they could go and maybe get something from Kildare. We bet them twice last year, and they obviously bet us in the Tailteann Cup, so it'll be a tough game. But yeah, look, it's a tough start. But generally, I'm glad that we competed somewhat for most of the game, and we'll move on to next week.
Absolutely well put there. Loud GA fan 57 here says Loud scored 121 and Sam O'Roy only scored 1-1. Loud under Devlin will push on this year. Their aggressive running and attacking play is the new string to their bow and will only get better. Yeah, it's very, very well put. I'm guessing the 57 as well as for the famous All-Ireland win from Loud in 1957. Tell me if I'm wrong, but that's my guess. John Doherty here says, I was very impressed with Galway's performance yesterday evening. To be honest, I thought Tipperary would steamroll them. If Galway can rectify their accuracy for scoring points, they will be a serious force, in my honest opinion. We will get to the hurling in just a little bit. We're going to keep going through the football here now. And we're going to talk about this game now. Aaron, did you manage to catch any of the Meath Derry game by any chance?
Yeah, seen bits of it.
We'll show this across to you then. Meath getting off to a winning start in their Division 2 campaign, beating Derry 19 points to 113 under the lights at Croke Park. Good start to their campaign, and you've seen a full time. Robbie Brennan was pumped up. That's a good win for Meath. And when you consider who on paper you would look at and go who you expect to be in the promotion battle, a lot of people do expect Derry to be there or thereabouts. So for Meath to beat them in round one, it's a good start.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, it was interesting, like, because like I was watching a bit of the first half in the pub before going in, and Derry were actually 1-4 to a point up, and Derry had started really, really fast, and you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe with Meath, it's it's going to take them a while to get going, but by the time I got in the ground, you were looking at the score and you were like, oh my God, geez, Meath have completely flipped this game on its head. And I think the big thing really with Meath is having Jack Flynn back. I remember seeing him against Down in the Tailteann Cup final a couple of years ago and thought he was outstanding. Like, he was by far the best player on the pitch, and you were thinking this is going to be the future of Meath football. Sort of drops out of the panel in the last couple of years, has had a couple of injuries and everything else, but yeah, he's a big player to get back in the team. And when you add that in with players like Matthew Costello and Jordan Morris and others, like Meath are very, very well versed. And I think for Meath fans to be very happy, because it's another big win against a big team. Like, especially under the circumstances as well, where Derry were pushing them quite close towards the end, and they were able to kind of see it through and hang on. So. And obviously with the fact they're playing outside of Páirc Tailteann, not in their home ground, so little bit of a change there from a Meath perspective, but they were very impressive. The way they held on. For a Derry perspective, it's another game, unfortunately, that's gotten away from them. I think we've said before, like, didn't win a game at all last year. And I know we got a lot of slack for not predicting Derry to, all of us not predicting Derry to get promoted, but like, I just don't think he can turn it on like just like that with the flick of a switch. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he can just, and like, you could see very evidently towards the end of the game, Meath have been winning these battles a little bit more over the last 12 months than Derry, and I think that was very evident in the closing stages.
It's a good point, and I think when I look at Meath and I look at Derry and I analyse both of the sides, I think what Derry have lost is that unshakable belief that they had in the early stages when Mickey Hart came in, that they were the best team in Ireland. Like, I truly believe that they thought that they were on their way to an All-Ireland, and that Donegal game had such a shattering impact on their confidence in themselves that then they lost to Galway really badly, they lost to Armagh really badly, and all of a sudden, I said it in our in-studio pod that I'd never seen a team look so good and so confident and so sure of themselves to all of a sudden looking so rattled. Like, every time they went out, and they didn't look anywhere near what they had looked previously. And it's difficult to recapture that spark. It's difficult to recapture that magic. It's one game. Let's not get carried away. Kieran Mean is a fantastic coach. He's come in. He was the guy that nearly got them to an All-Ireland final in 2023. They nearly beat Kerry that day. And I think that would have been their year to win the All-Ireland, to be honest. But maybe he can rediscover that spark that they had. But the reality is, even it goes under the radar, but Chrissy McKay gone from that team. Huge loss. Absolutely huge loss there in the full back line. and Kieran McFall also not part of the team the other day. So they're two big players gone, and the team has changed now. So it will be interesting to see how they get on in the rest of the year, without question. For Meath, I thought they looked really good, really strong. And I'm also going to give an award. Okay, we give a first Cúilín Media Award for the highest point I have ever seen in my life. I don't know, did you clock Jack Flynn at one point booted the ball literally up into the heavens? I thought when he kicked it, he'd absolutely miscued it, and somehow it lands down over the bar. One of the best, most spectacular points I think I've ever seen. And just wanted to give that a special shout out as well. Liam, I'll throw this over to you then. Tyrone opening their league campaign with a draw against Kildare and Healy Park. Kildare getting a superb result here, away to the overwhelming favourites to top Division 2. Now, there's a few ways to look at this. Did we A, overestimate Tyrone? Did we B, underestimate Kildare? Or C, is this just a once-off weird game? Or is it all of the above?
I suppose we'll know over the next couple of weeks, to be honest with you, because it is still only round one. But it is a very impressive draw for... I feel like maybe to a degree we've probably underestimated Kildare, maybe. And that maybe could have been a lot of bias for me, considering I'm from Offaly. But I think just from their perspective, it's a great draw to get, but they probably were maybe unfortunate not to maybe win the game potentially as well. There was an opportunity there for them to win the game. They were winning at half time. Now, look, Tyrone came out in the second half and they got 2 goals and 2 very good goals as well, and they were pushing forward. But yeah, Kildare, to be fair to them, they pushed and they pushed for an equaliser towards the end, and they got it. Tyrone, with the clock ticking down, could have maybe produced a winner at the end, but for Kildare, it's a fantastic draw, considering, you know, where maybe myself and other people might have predicted them to come this season. But like, it's an unbelievable draw for them to get away from home in Omagh. Like, they were 2-16 to 1-13 down at one stage, you know, and they clawed it back to draw in the end. And, you know, a couple of 2-pointers from Brian McLaughlin, who had an outstanding game, especially towards the end of the game. Alex Byrne leveling the game as well towards the end. So it's a very positive result for Kildare. I wouldn't be as worried if I was Tyrone. There are going to be tough games in Division 2, but I still think they're good enough to get themselves promoted. I wouldn't be like losing sleep or anything like that if I were them. It's still a point gained, and I'd say they just move on to next weekend.
Yeah, no, well put. We are going to move quicker through the gears here now because of the amount of games that we still have to cover. We still have to cover Division 3, Division 4, LGFA, hurling. So let's speed up, boys. I'm going to go now to Division 3, and Matthew, I'm going to ask you to run through Division 3 for us. So obviously we had Down beating Clare 219 to 214 in Páirc. Clare put in a good account of themselves, but ultimately the favourites to win the division came out the strongest in that game. Then Laois beat Limerick by a goal and 10. Sorry, Laois and Limerick drew, a goal and 10 to 13 points in O'Moore Park. Fermanagh were on the wrong end of Wexford in Brewster Park, 12 points, and Wexford got a goal and 13. So Declan Bonner's first league game in charge ends in defeat. And Westmeath beat Sligo by the minimum in Cusack Park, 2-14 to a goal and 16.
The game of the weekend of Division 3 was always going to be Westmeath against Sligo, because many people predicted either of them to go up and maybe join Down and being in the top 2. And Westmeath pipped it. Jonathan Noynham getting 2 goals for this one for Westmeath. It was crucial for them. Obviously, Luke Loughlin hitting 5 points as well. So it was a big win from a Westmeath point of view. Very impressed with Wexford's win over Fermanagh. And again, we talked about this in the live studio pod as well, about Fermanagh's inconsistency in Division 3 and the fact that they don't really take the league seriously, despite having some decent players. But to be fair, you have to give it to Wexford. Gavin Jean getting the goal, Páirc Hughes getting 4 points, and Sean Nolan getting 7. So it was a good win for Wexford there. For Down to beat Clare, look, Clare gave him a bit of it from their point of view, and they should be proud enough of their efforts, I would imagine. But you look at Orr Murdoch hitting 1 goal and 2 points, Pat Havern hitting 6 points as well. So it was a good performance from a Down point of view. John McGeoch got the other goal from a Down point of view as well. Look, for Clare, I do think they have to prove it in the next few weeks. They can't just prove it against one of the best teams in Division 3. Look, they have to prove it in the next few weeks that they are one of the best teams that they claim to be. And Limerick against Laois in the other game, look, it was a good result for Limerick, considering Laois were ahead. I'd seen a video on Laois today, and Laois apparently had a load of shots in this one. They almost kicked the game away, apparently. If although Cargo won 4, so it was a good performance from him. But to be fair, Limerick were way down in this game and they got back to level it. So I think it's a point gain for Limerick and a point loss for Laois there.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting way to look at it. Yeah, Laois, like we didn't really have two similar predictions for this Division 3. Liam, what game kind of stood out to you out of that list?
Westmeath Sligo, just simply because Westmeath, through love nor money, could not buy a win last year in crucial games and games that were going down the home stretch. But for them this year now, that's a big win. That could do so much for them going forward. Just being able to get over the line in a tight game like that. And against a very good Sligo opposition as well. Like even speaking to Mark McHugh the last week or two as well, he's a very honest person, but he has good ideas ahead for Westmeath. Won the O'Byrne Cup with them there last weekend. And it's almost like winning those couple of games, we joke and we say, the O'Byrne Cup, the Munster League, the McKenna Cup, all this kind of stuff, it doesn't matter. But sometimes winning those things can actually help a county. They can help teams out. A bit of silverware does nobody any harm. And even winning close games against Kildare, battering Offaly, beating Louth in convincing enough fashion as well, can sometimes help. And for them to pull off the 2 late points from Sam McCartan and Shane Corcoran to win the game, that could do so much for Mark McHugh and Westmeath. And that's why I kind of predicted them to get promoted from Division 3 this year. I think they're a team that are Division 2 side. I think they're well capable of beating a lot of teams in the country. It's just that belief that maybe they've lacked over the last maybe year or two. But I think this will do so much for them. I think it's a big, big win for them. For Sligo, look, they're heading in the right direction. 2 last-minute 1-pointers, I don't think should dampen their season. I think they'll be fine in Division 3.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm correct in saying as well, Westmeath beat Down in the Division 3 final a couple of years ago, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Down were hot favourites to win that game. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Westmeath do go and do it, because the one thing that they have shown, Aaron, is that, like in Luke Loughlin, they have an absolute world beater there up front. Looking the other way, obviously we've talked about promotion. Westmeath and Sligo are 2 teams that everybody kind of has up there. Down and Clare is another massive game for that. A lot of people have Clare kind of up as promotion challengers as well. Looking the other way, which defeat or which result do you think could be the most consequential when this is all wrapped up?
Yeah, it is an interesting one. I suppose it was a big defeat, I suppose, for Sligo in regards to that, and Westmeath kind of turning it around. It was a great turnaround, from a Westmeath perspective, especially at one point when it looked like maybe they were potentially going to go and get beat. It's kind of early days, really. It is kind of hard to tell. It probably is a damning result maybe from a Limerick perspective. That was a draw, was it?
Draw, yeah. For me, it's the Fermanagh one. For me, it's that I'm like, oh.
I still think Fermanagh will be okay, though. I still think they've good enough players there. It is a bad defeat. It is a bad loss. There's no question in regards to that, but still have enough quality. I think Ulton Kelm's out injured as well. They have a few players that they are missing, which when they get them lads back, that could be crucial. But it definitely does feel like Division 3 is kind of flipped on its head a little bit, though, because you are looking at it, and as we said, Wexford have won, Laois have gotten a draw. Oh yeah, I'm still here. Something coming out the window, man.
Your hands at the mic.
I don't know how much of that you heard.
Oh no. We heard right up until I went, oh, we heard all of that. But anyway, I think we're safe enough, in terms of the start, in terms of most of our picks to go up. I think most of us picked Down and Westmeath to go up. But now both of them obviously getting off to a winning start, as Des here says, Westmeath for promotion. Defo Justice last year. Ryan also says Limerick threw it away. We'll move on to Division 4 though, lads, because we still have a lot to get through. In the Division 4's round 1, Waterford versus Longford was obviously postponed as well. But we had 3 games from Division 4, and it's all London and Tipperary draw in Ruislip, 21 points each. Wicklow beat Leitrim by the minimum, 117 to 213, and Ockram and Carlow got the most impressive win out the bunch, I would say, Liam, going away to Antrim in Roger Caseman's GAA club and beating them 216 to a goal and 15. That's a great start for Carlow.
Yeah, and there goes our Antrim predictions of getting promoted as well. We're off to a few edgy starts here, but no, look, a great win for Carlow. Carlow football's kind of funny because on some days they're very good, and then other days they're just batshit crazy, you know. So it's nice to see them going up away to a tough ground and getting themselves a good victory. Chris Blake was the top scorer with a goal and 4 points. Colm Hulton scoring 2 points from centre forwards. Ross Dunphy scoring 2 points as well. Conor Doyle, I believe, got 3 points from midfield as well. Very, very impressive performance there. So yeah, look, a tough start for Antrim, but a great win for Carlow. They'll definitely be a team that'll be up there fighting for promotion up to Division 3 this year, along with the likes of Wicklow. I know, obviously, Wicklow, a very tough game today, but they managed to get themselves over the line in the end over Leitrim. And I'm glad to see Leitrim at least putting up a fight in a match, unlike a lot of times last year when it was just a disastrous year for them. And for London and Tipperary as well, a cracking game, 21 points each. Like, that's a cracking game of football, and a great result for London as well, to take a draw against a team that only a couple of years ago were winning a Munster titles. So yeah, Division 4 seems to be off to a cracking start as well, and honestly, long may it continue.
Absolutely. So, well, incredibly, lads, now we're in 20 in and we're moving to the hurling. I promise we'll move quicker now. But we're going to start off with the Rebels making a dream start under Ben O'Connor. Matthew, you were there in Páirc Uí Chaoimh for this one. 325 to a goal in 17. It's a perfect start for Ben O'Connor.
Definitely is. It was kind of a weird enough game because everything Cork turned to goals and everything Waterford did was absolutely terrible at times, I thought, in this game. Look, I just have to make myself clear on the Waterford prediction. I felt like Waterford had players there, the likes of Ruben Halvard, who coincidentally scored 13 points, and I did mention on the pod, but he seemed like the only player today that was just raring to go in many ways. I was very disappointed at Waterford. Very disappointed. I thought they'd put in a lot more. I thought they'd, try a bit for the league as well. I thought there'd be more in them, but they just showed nothing in this game. And yes, Cork had a few players that aren't regular starters, the likes of Tommy O'Connell and William Buckley, who performed very, very well, to be fair to them. William Buckley had a dream debut, 1 goal and 4 points. Absolutely superb. Like, 1 point in the second half was absolutely superb from the St. Finbarr's player. He was dragged down by the Waterford players, but he still found the room to puck it over the bar. I thought Tommy O'Connell's link-up play was absolutely superb around midfield as well. I thought Darrow Leary at fullback, absolutely brilliant. Patrick Collins looked very, very assured in goal. And even when Robert Downey got that black card in the second half for Cork, it didn't look like Waterford had the extra man. It just looked like Cork were just going to steam on him and go home for this one. But the telling stat in this one, Cork scored 223 from play. Waterford scored 7 points. 7 points from play in a 70-minute game of hurling. I know you have to credit Cork, and it is a good start for Ben O'Connor's reign. And I will say, look, we seem to be in a good place after the All-Ireland loss against Tipperary, but the All-Ireland is the be-all and end-all. That's the end goal for this Cork team. But from a Waterford point of view, lads, I'd be incredibly worried after that performance. They will have tough games in the next few weeks as well. I think they're praying behind the scenes that the Ballygunner lads just return instantly, because the likes of Desi, the likes of Ian Kenny in defence, the likes of Paddy Levy, Patrick Fitzgerald, they will bring this team on a fourfold, I'd imagine, because they're absolutely superb players and they badly need these guys. Stephen Bennett wasn't playing either today. I did hear from a fellow Cork fan that actually this was Waterford's third team. That might be a thing as well. But it was still a very, very poor performance, and it was very flat, I would think, this game. Like, it's rare in Páirc Uí Chaoimh that you come out with and say the Cork Cavan game in football was an absolutely brilliant game, but then this game in the hurling was very, very poor. It was down to one team's performance, and unfortunately Waterford didn't show up. And Cork, look, it was a good performance by them, but there's more important things down the line, is what I'm trying to say.
Peter here laying it on thick on Waterford. He says anything to be said for a mass for Waterford to crash down hard back to 1B. Lads, they are dire. I don't know if it, there's a lot of good players to come back in, Peter. But he also says Samba hurling from Cork. Ryan Gallagher also says Rossi hurlers on the rise. They had a good win this weekend as well. Yeah, there's no question about it. Like, they were very, very impressive, Cork. I think Ben O'Connor coming in is the perfect man to come in to the ship. Like, he's just no nonsense. And some of his positional selections are very, very interesting as well. Decky Dalton getting a lot of praise for being a full forward as well. A lot of people like that switch. For me, this Cork team absolutely has what it takes to win the All-Ireland. You can't tell me anything otherwise. I know that the way that last year's second half went against Tip was bizarre, but play that game in another day, I think Cork walk out with the Liam McCarthy Cup. Like, they're good enough to win. There's no question about it. And the 2024 final as well, we all know how close that one was. And I think Ben O'Connor coming in could be the perfect storm for Cork to go and win in All Ireland. Do not write them off at your peril if you do. Anyway, we're going to move on because, again, I'm keeping an eye on that. And I don't want to keep too many people as well from League Sunday. I know as hell we want to watch it too. But Liam, I'll throw this one over to you. You were at this game in Nolan Park. Kilkenny 20 points, Offaly 16 points. Look, it was always going to be a difficult game, but that local rivalry, a very competitive game. A new look Kilkenny team as well. Offaly missing some big players, the likes of Charlie Mitchell obviously not being around. What did you make of it?
Yeah, first half was very scrappy. It was 9 points to 6. Kilkenny hit a number of wides in the game that was very uncharacteristic of them. And yeah, just the ball was being fumbled a good bit of times. It was very much winter hurling at times. The ball was being fumbled. It was stopping. It was, it wasn't a lot of free flow and stuff. I felt at times it was a bit confusing because at times it looked like we were playing a low ball into Oisin Kelly, but playing a high ball into Adam Screeney, which is the complete backward thing to do, to be honest with you. It's that one doesn't really make sense. But I think overall, look, we can take a lot of positives from it. There was a lot of young players out there today, like you mentioned there. Charlie Mitchell was missing, Killian Sampson was missing, Kieran Burke's out for a while, James Mahon is out for 3 months. There was a lot of players out missing today. Donald Shirley went off. I don't know what's the seriousness of that, or maybe they were just minding him. I don't know. Hopefully he'll be all right for next weekend, or even just for the sake of himself, if it's Fitzgibbon Cup or stuff like that. But look, overall, there was some real positive performance. Liam Hoare in goals was absolutely outstanding. Ben Miller at fullback had a good game. Ben Keneally, one of the more experienced players in the team, was very, very solid at cornerback. I thought he had a really, really good game. I thought Cathal King in midfield was exceptional, to be honest with you. He's a player that belongs in, playing at the top level of hurling. Adam Screeney, I thought, had a really good game. Scored 7 points from frees, won a couple of those frees himself, got 2 points from play. Himself and Mikey Butler, I think that's going to be a great rivalry over the next couple of years. I'd say they're sick of the sight of each other already, but I think that's a good look for each other. Dan Burke, when he was brought out the field, got more involved in the game and looked a lot more solid as well. So there were some good performers today from a lot of players. A couple of players made their debuts as well. Lee Cavan made his debut for the seniors. Patrick Taft made his debut starting from the bench. Daniel Diggy-Hand came off the bench, made his debut. Kieran Cleary came on and got a point after about 7 seconds, which was good to see. So look, with the players that we have missing and the conditions today and everything like that, I was very pleased. I'm not 100% sure. He did go off. Colin Spain come on from him, and he did well as well, to be fair to him. Dignan on the 4. Dignan was in the half forward line. Yeah, he was playing at number 11. But yeah, look, overall, I'm happy enough with how the lads played. There's something to work on there. It's going to be difficult against Tipperary at home next weekend, but I think the Waterford game, especially after today's performance against Cork down in Walsh Park in a couple of weeks' time, is a game that we could definitely target. But for Kilkenny, they have players to come back. They had some good performers. Mossy Keown got a couple of points. Owen Cody got a good number of scores as well, and he's always going to be the danger man. Jordan Malloy got 3 points from midfield, he's a player I rate very, very highly as well. So yeah, look, a good game overall. Kilkenny be happy to get out there with 2 points, and all that matters is that tonight, Offaly are 5th and we're staying up. So
there you go. There you go. Well put. And we'll be joining you in Division 1A next year. We'll get on to that in just a moment. But first, Aaron, I'll throw this one to you. Tipperary 121, Galway 116 in Temple Stadium. The All-Ireland champions get their league campaign up and running with a win. Interesting enough, though, after the game, Liam Cahill said in the interview with Colin Parkinson on Smaller Fish GAA, just one quote that did stick out to me was that he was saying when he was chatting to Micheál Donoghue, he was basically saying that he was saying to him, Galway are clearly moving in the right direction. What did you make of it?
Yeah, like, to be honest, I haven't seen any of this game yet. To be honest, I was obviously at the Dublin game, and then I was out after, so I haven't seen too much. I've only kind of seen match reports and a few kind of talk and everything else. But the result, like, I was a little bit surprised by.
I was sorry. I was just going to say maybe looking a little bit more than at the Walsh Cup final as well. Then.
Yeah, like looking at the result was a little bit surprising. Just given the fact that usually as an All-Ireland champion, you can be a little bit slow, kind of out of the blocks and everything else. I thought Galway would have a lot to prove in this game, and I thought they'd kind of come out flying and come out fast. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll throw it over to one of you lads if one of you lads seen the game in more detail.
Matthew.
Yeah, it was a very good game. I thought it was good intensity to it. Not the best quality, but it was a a really poor night weather-wise in Semple Stadium. To be fair, like Tipperary had some good performers. Jay Barris had an absolutely brilliant display. He had plenty of assists. He got 8 points as well in this one. 5 from play. I thought Darren McCarthy did well at some stages, but still looked a bit rusty. Obviously that's normal considering that he's come after his absolutely brilliant season. I thought Andrew Ormond was very good at drawing fouls more than anything as well from a Tipperary point of view. And even the likes of, I think, Colin O'Reilly from a quarterback made an absolutely brilliant interception, and apparently still a young player still as well. So he's not the tallest, but he seems like a very, very tenacious player, very Irish, and another player that Tipperary could add as well. I think a worry from a Tipperary point of view was Robert Doyle going off injured. And I think Michael Duggan mentioned in commentary that about the calendar and things like that. That's probably a discussion for another podcast, but it just in general, that there's so many games week on, week off, and with the poor weather conditions as well, it's just inevitable we're going to get injuries like this. And hopefully Robert does recover from it, because he had an absolutely excellent 2025 as well. From a Galway point of view, and you know me and you know this pod, we've been very critical of Galway considering their style of play and considering their consistency. I was impressed with Galway last night. I was very, very impressed with him. Rory Burke was absolutely superb from centre forward. I think their full forward, Jason Rabbit, he got 2 points and he assisted 1-2 in the second half as well. I thought he was absolutely superb at claiming ball as well. Carl Mannion, yes, absolutely superb last season and a very good player, but he looked a bit rusty. He had a few shots that went wide. He was claiming a lot of ball around the middle of the park as well, so that is a positive. Very impressed with Darren Neary, actually, from wing forward. I thought he worked very hard. I thought he worked hard in his turnovers. I thought he did well in assists as well. Gavin Lee moved out to midfield. That was a positive from the Galway point of view. Páirc Mannion did very well at wing back. John Fleming. And that was more so a B Galway team. Like the likes of Conor Whelan weren't playing. I don't know, is he going to be on the panel or what's the story there? But if he does come back, that's a big boost from a Galway point of view. And there are young players in Galway. Like, for example, there was a player last night, Aaron Nyland. He's still under 20. He was an absolutely brilliant player in minor over the last few seasons. He took a few shots. Yes, they were wild. They went wide. But he was trying his heart out. He was absolutely brilliant at hard working. One more player from a Galway point of view, Killian Trayers from centre back. I thought he was very, very good as well. The youngsters performed very well from a Galway point of view, and I think Micheál Donoghue would have been very, very pleased by his size display. But for Tipperary, they could be taking the league seriously. I see Brian O'Mara talked to Damien Lawler from RT after the game as well, and he was saying that, look, it didn't do Cork any harm. It didn't do Kerry any harm and win the league either in the football. So why can't Tip go for the league? So I think Tipperary are genuinely going to go for the league this year, which is a good sign in many ways. And they've got their campaign off to a bright start in many ways. But at the same time, it wasn't the best performance. But having said all that, if Galway can produce that performance with a better shooting accuracy, as one of the comments mentioned there, I think they still could be a threat. But then again, it's early days. It's January. We'll have to see how it all plays out. But encouraging signs, I think, for Galway.
Yeah, no, I do agree. Peter here saying Cahill and Woolley have made up anyway. They certainly have. I actually did really enjoy Colin Parkinson's interviews after the game. I thought they were very, very well done. And I think, yeah, more coverage like that. I like what I've seen so far from that side of things. Aaron, I'm going to throw this game to you. I know you didn't see it. I didn't see it because unfortunately it wasn't being shown anywhere. But this game ended up being a defeat for the Dubs down in Cusack Park in Ennis. Clare 3-18, Dublin 1-22. Probably the most important game in Division 1B this week, just in terms of the promotion that on paper you're looking at the All-Ireland champions of 2024 and Dublin, who made it to the All-Ireland semi-final last season, beating Limerick on the way. They stand out in two very strong candidates for promotion. They met this weekend in Cusack Park in Ennis. It was always going to be a game that is consequential for how the league plays out. Dublin looked good at stages. We led for a lot of the game. And Clare just struck, by the sense of it from reading the match reports, obviously because we haven't been able to watch it, but from the sense of reading the match reports, it just sounds like Clare struck at like crucial moments. And maybe the home advantage as well. But the one thing that I'm happy with is we went away to a very, very difficult place to go, put in a very good account of ourselves. Owen O'Donnell's back with the hurlers, which is a plus. We're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, like from listening on the radio and kind of catching bits, like it was an impressive performance from a Dublin perspective. We did start the game very strong. We were 5 points to 1 up in the opening 10 minutes, and very strong in regards to that. Yeah, like it will be interesting definitely to kind of catch the highlights and see kind of how Clare kind of got a foothold a bit more so in the game. But yeah, like there was definitely some good performances in there from a Dublin perspective. Brian Hayes, the real Brian Hayes, in midfield, 1-3. He scored. He was very impressive. And then Conor Donoghue as well was very good, to be fair, as well. He scored 2 points. And yeah, like definitely some positives from a Dublin perspective. It is just, I've seen these games a lot with Dublin down the years in hurling. This kind of game reminds me a lot of like Kilkenny, when we play Kilkenny, where we should beat them, we have them all day long, and then out of nowhere they just find the way to beat us. And this felt very similar to those kind of type of defeats.
It's proper, isn't it? It's proper like, oh no.
Like there was a part of me that kept looking at score BO, and I was kind of thinking, oh, we're gonna do it. I was just waiting for Clare. They're gonna get a goal. They're gonna get something, and long behold, they actually go. And
that's why the Limerick game. That's why the Limerick me, like my heart rate was that like, historic highs, because literally like I just kept waiting for like, okay, when's the goal? When's the Sean Brennan save? Like that, I'd say heart rate went through the roof for that one. Like they thought that hit the moment. But yeah, glory days. But look, the reality is we did lose, but in my opinion, we lost to the best team in the division.
Yeah.
Moving in the right direction without question, and I do think we will get promoted this year. Now, one of the contenders for that, you would think on paper, would be Wexford. They got their campaign off to a winning start against Antrim in Wexford Park, 113 to 112. But Matthew, wasn't exactly straightforward. Now, one of the comments here talking about it, Ryan here says, important win for Wexford, very young and inexperienced team. Only 6 players used had played in the championship last season. A lot of experienced players to come back in the next few weeks. So that has to be taken on board as well.
It does have to be taken on board, but they very, very nearly lost this game at home. And Mark Fanning, if he didn't have the bottle that he usually does have, they wouldn't have got out of Wexford Park with that win last night. It was this brilliant penalty by Mark Fanning to get Wexford over the line. And to be fair, they got over the line in this game. To be fair, Simon Roach, one of those players in the fringes, got 8 points. So a positive there from a Wexford point of view. I don't know, did you see the clip on Buff Egan?
With Davey. Was that Buff himself who took that, or was that someone else?
It was probably someone else, I think, that just sent it into the Buff. But what did I say on the Cúilín live in studio pod, lads? What did I say about him? That he'll make it about himself.
But you see, for me, right, because I seen Dan Casey threw that up on his story as well, and he basically said, like, film someone and then crop it down for the moment that you wanted. Which I completely agree with, to be honest. Like, I'm looking at that situation, I'm going, he's pissed off with the call the referee made at the end. He's very passionate. Antrim nearly have got a fantastic start to the league campaign with a win away in Wexford, which would have surprised everyone, to be honest, regardless of how inexperienced Wexford's team was. It's back at a ground as well that he used to manage, so it has that kind of personal tint to it. And then they lose on a debatable referee decision at the end, which Davey obviously doesn't agree with. And the thing is that the way that the people were around him on the phone, for me, it was very clear that they were like trying to mess with him at the end, that they were going to be like, go on, wait, like right in his ear and try get a moment, and they got it. And I do feel for him a little bit there. Should he have thrown the jersey down, the bib down on the ground the way he did? He'll probably say himself that he probably shouldn't have, because then he's just giving the people that have their camera, he's just giving them what they want. But the reality is they had their phones out pointed at him going, go on, Wexford, because they wanted something. And I think that behaviour I'm not a big fan of, personally.
No, I'm not either. But to be fair, away from the Davy stuff and away from the drama, Conor Johnston got a goal for Antrim that looked to win this game in stoppage time, and he deserves a lot of credit. Sean Elliott got 7 points as well. Those sorts of Antrim players, and James McNaughton last year as well, deserve a lot of credit, and they deserve credit for being incredible hurlers. But I just feel like with this Antrim team, with Davy in charge, the whole spotlight will be on him. And I think it's not a good look for number one for Antrim hurling and number two for Ulster hurling as well, which is trying to develop. I don't know what you think about that, but I just don't like it, to be honest with you. And I'm sure if Antrim, this is the big if now, if Antrim don't go ahead and win the Joe McDonagh this year, he'll find some way to make it about himself, I think, Davy. But
yeah, very interesting prediction. We will, I do think you probably shouldn't have thrown the bib on the ground, but I do think they were looking for a reaction. But anyway, but again, is that because of his previous behavior? Do you know what I mean? That they know that they might get something. Like, you kind of like, would someone have gone up with the phone to Jim Gavin at the end? Someone who never, ever, ever reacts to anything? Probably not. But Davy's passion is something that, adds to the game. I hope he doesn't stop managing. I like him. But anyway, we'll move on to the next game. Liam, I'm going to give this one to you. Carlow, again, another win for Carlow. Wins across the board in LGFA in football and in hurling. They started off this one with a 218 to 111 win over Down in Cullen Park, getting their campaign off to a good start.
Yeah, and it was sort of strange from a Carlow perspective because I believe they were losing. Yeah, they were losing by 4 points at half time. And I was starting to think, Jesus, maybe Carlow are starting slow here, because it was the home games last year that kind of let them down, especially in the both, I'd say probably in the league and the Joe McDonagh. They drew in the last minute against Laois. They lost at home to Carlow. And even last year, I remember, didn't they draw at home to Antrim, which kind of stops them from being in the hunt for getting promotion from Division 1B as well. So I was starting to really worry for their home record. But look, they turned it on in the second half. They turned it around. And listen, when you have players like Marty Cavan in your team, who ironically, I don't think he scored from play, which is a great credit to the Down full back line to keep him scoreless from play. But yeah, John Michael Nolan, who's an excellent forward, scoring 1-2, Donald Murphy scoring 1-4, Conor Keogh and Jack Tracy chipping in with a couple of points. I don't think James Doyle played this game. I could be wrong. Maybe someone will correct me there. I don't think he played this game, so he's obviously a big miss for them. But look, a good start for them regardless. I'd say it's just one of those games where you're saying, look, just get in, get the job done and get out. But for Down, plenty of positives to take from the game. They're a team that's going to be very much in the battle to try and stay up in Division 1B this year, but they'll definitely take a lot of positives from the first half performance anyways. They were reduced to 14 men as well, which is unfortunate from their perspective. But yeah, I've no doubt that Ronan Sheehan and his management team will look back on this and think, okay, we have something to build on here.
Absolutely. So we are going to move quickly now as well, because we still have to cover the LGFA's opening round in Division 1, 2 and 3, and then second round and 4. So what I'm going to do is recap on the results from Division 2, 3 and 4 in the hurling, and then we'll move on. So Division 2 in the hurling saw Meath beat London 120 to 110. Kerry hammered Derry 523 to 12 points. And Laois hammered Mayo 623 to 12 points. In Division 3's round 1, Armagh lost to Louth at home 120 to 115. Roscommon beat Wicklow 215 to 116. And Donegal hammered Tyrone 323 to 118. Donegal hurling continues to be on an upward trajectory, while in Division 4, Cavan beat Warwickshire 313 to 113. Sligo hammered Monaghan 220 to 8 points away from home, and Longford beat Leitrim away from home 217 to 20 points. And those are the opening rounds in Divisions 2, 3 and 4. And now we move on to the final code from the weekend. The LGFA, the little LGFA leagues, did not kick off this weekend for the whole divisions, but they did kick off for Divisions 1, 2 and 3. And Aaron, we lost again this weekend. We're going to jump into that game. And this was the game that everybody had their eye on, without question. Dublin and Kerry in the opening round at Round Towers, Clondalkin, and it had to be moved here because the conditions around all the grounds in Dublin, hardly any pitches were playable. But Kerry, for them, this is a massive start to the league campaign for Kerry. Going away to the All-Ireland champions, beating them by 6 points. And trust me, the conditions in this game were appalling. It was it was one of the worst days for Gaelic football you could imagine. And Kerry, through sheer grit and determination and the brilliance of players like Sheaf Roche, get over the line and get a crucial, crucial win. Liam, there's no question about it. When you're looking at how things could shape up at the end of the campaign, this is a big, big start for Kerry.
Yeah, and I sort of felt sorry for the players, just more so the conditions yesterday. Jesus, all their jerseys after about 15 minutes were absolutely destroyed, and the ground was probably destroyed as well. But I also admire them because they went out there, and I actually think for the conditions that they were playing in, this was a very good game of football, to be honest with you. And they put a lot of heart and soul into this game as well, both teams. But yeah, look, I was very impressed with Kerry. I thought they played some really, really good football, especially in the first half. They were taking their scores really, really well. A lot of quick hand passing as well. Like, look, Dublin, at the end of the day, they're All-Ireland champions, so it's probably going to take them maybe even a game or two to get themselves fully ready for the league campaign. Probably no different to maybe thinking we're tipped slow to start against Galway, in that sort of way. Maybe Kerry today against Roscommon. Dublin could be the exact same. Galway could be the same in the Camogie next month. But yeah, overall, I thought Kerry played a really good game of football. They tried out a lot of new players as well. And like you mentioned there, Siofra O'Shea, I mean, sure, what more can you say about her? I think she's one of the best footballers in the country, and I'll still maintain, had Kerry gone on and won the All-Ireland last year, I'd say she probably would have won the footballer of the year, to be honest with you, the ladies footballer of the year. But you had Daniela O'Leary scoring 2 points in this game. You had O'Connell scoring a point, Lucy getting the goal for them, which was a very, very good goal as well. But yeah, overall a good performance from Kerry. They'll take a lot of positive from it going up to Dublin and taking the opening points for Dublin. I wouldn't be stressing about it too much. I still think there was some good performers in there from across the park. Like, it was a very tricky game to play for the two of them. It was horrible conditions. The ball was, I'd say, like a rock at half the time, to be honest with you. But I think overall, for the conditions that the game was played in, I think it was a very good performance. And Kerry were just that little bit more clinical, I would say, over the 60 minutes that was played. So good start for Kerry.
Absolutely. And again, another team making a fantastic start was Waterford. What a result for Waterford, going away to Armagh 2-14 to 8 points in the athletic grounds to open up their league campaign. Now, looking through the team sheet, some big hitters for Armagh were missing. No Amy Mackin, she didn't play in this game. No Braheen Mackin, no Caroline O'Hanlon. But the reality is, like, Aaron, it's still an incredible win. Goal from Trastany Crottig, a goal from Chloe Fennell. You've got 5 points there from Anya O'Neill, 2 points from Breed McMaul, Lauren McGregor getting on the score sheet as well. And interesting enough for Waterford, Emma Murray started this game a wing back on the team sheet, and Kellyanne Hogan came in off the bench and got 2 points as well. They're two players that officially play down in the AFLW for Waterford, yet they are returning and playing in the league, which tells me that the project being built in Waterford, it's pretty damn exciting. And starting off your campaign with a win like that against a side like Armagh, who were in the Division 1 final last year, it's a hell of a statement.
It is. It's very impressive from a Waterford perspective. Like, to go there and win the game by, 12 points in the end, especially, how good Armagh have been in recent seasons and getting to the Division 1 final and everything else in recent years. So, but yeah, very impressive from Waterford, as we were saying. Anya O'Neill with 5 points. She was very impressive. Claire Walsh with 2 as well. Chloe Fennell with 1-1. And like Waterford, to be fair, they've been one of them teams that they've been knocking on the door in recent seasons. Like, they've been one of those sides that have been pushing. And Waterford probably seen teams like Armagh, like Kildare, like Meath as well, who've made that step up and have made that step up a lot quicker than maybe Waterford have. Do you know what I mean? In terms of getting up the ladder. So I think that's maybe the next step for Waterford now. Can they actually compete for a Munster title, for a league, or maybe be an outside shot at an All-Ireland? So very impressive stuff for Waterford.
It's a very, very good start to the league campaign for them, without question. Another team that we highlighted to have a good league was Galway. And Matthew, like, when you look at this result, actually, no, I'll give this one to Liam because you have the Cork one to come after. But Liam, Galway 16 points, Meath 8 points in Gael Column Kill GAA. For Galway to start off their league campaign going away to Meath and beating them by double scores, we've all picked Galway to finish in the top 2 of the league. It's for a reason.
I didn't. I predicted Waterford and Dublin. Waterford and Dublin.
Dublin then, aren't you?
Well, I'm regretting the Dublin one now. I can tell you that. No, listen. But no, look, it's a great performance from Galway. Kate Slevin scoring 7 points. They led by 9 points to 4 at halftime. Roisin Leonard scored 3 points. I mean, Roisin Leonard, again, is one of the finest footballers in the country right now. She's absolutely fantastic. Niamh DeVilly as well. Leanne Cohen got a couple of scores for Galway as well. And yeah, look, it's a very impressive performance from them to beat a Meath side that were All-Ireland finalists last year, and by double scores as well. It's a great start to their campaign. For Meath, I think I'm trying to remember off the top of my head now. I think I predicted them to come like maybe 5th or 6th.
We all said 6th. We all said
I said
5th.
6th. Yeah, I said 6th. So, and it's nothing even against them. I just think they're going to struggle in the league this year. I still think they could be potential contenders later on in the year to win the Leinster, win the All-Ireland potentially. But I just think for league campaign, they're going to take a little bit of a step back. And I think this kind of proved it. But yeah, great win for Galway to start off their league campaign. And yeah, I probably should have predicted them in the top 3 now looking back. But look, it is what it is.
Hasn't Shane McCormack left the Meath managerial role, hasn't he? I believe so.
I think he has. I need to check that actually.
I remember. Yeah, Wayne Freeman appointed in October 2025, succeeding Shane McCormack. So after the All Ireland final, McCormack left. So they are again in a bit of a transitional phase. And again, just that kind of in between two stools of not knowing whether your stars are going to be there or not is very, very difficult when you're trying to build something. But anyway, Matthew, I'll give you the game that I wanted to give to you, which was, of course, Cork against Kildare. Sorry, that should say Kildare. Let me fix that up real quick. So Cork against Kildare in the MTU Arena. So Cork against Kildare in the MTU Arena. Cork 1-10, Kildare 2-7. What did you make of this game?
I think it's a result that obviously with the 2 Cork games on today, I didn't have time to look at this in depth. But at the same time, I do think for both Cork and Kildare, it isn't the best result. And I think all of us predicted 2 of them to go down. And I think either side, if they wanted to stay up, they had to win today. Especially for Cork at home in MTU, I think it was a must win for them, in fairness. Melissa Duncan got the goal for Cork, hitting Cork at 5 points. I have to say, but look at the reports, Abigail Ring seemed to perform very well coming off the bench with 2 points. For Kildare, Aoife Murnane was really the main player with 2 goals and 2 points, probably one of the performances of the weekend. It was a poor result, I'd say, for both sides, considering what's to come down the line. I would say only Meath, possibly because of the absentees in the panel, might be at Cork and Kildare's level. But for them to get that confidence, they needed either side needed to win today, and they just didn't get it, which was unfortunate for both sides there. And hopefully from a Cork point of view, they will recover in the next few weeks. What is boost though? Aoife Healy, who is gone down to AFLW, or she will go down to AFLW, he's going to be there for the first few rounds of the league. Joe Carroll has confirmed. So that is a boost from a Cork point of view, I will say. And yeah, it was a bad result for both sides today, but I'm sure there are positives that both can take. Just on the Galway Meath game as well, it is an important milestone to mention. The first ever Division 1 2-pointer by Kate Slevin. As Liam mentioned, she got 7 points, and according to Scorpio, she got a 2-pointer too. So well done to Kate Slevin. She is the first of, I hope, many 2-pointers in the LGFA. In Division 1, sorry.
Great point. Yeah, that is Division 1 recapped. We're now going to run through the rest of the divisions and try get this done before 2 hours, lads. It's kind of my fault. I've been dragging it out a little bit, but we'll run through the rest of the results. So Division 2's round 1, Cavan and Mayo drew 1-13 apiece. Donegal beat Westmeath 2-11 to 1-6. Wexford lost to Tipperary 2-12 to 2-9. And Tyrone hammered Monaghan 7 goals and 11 points to 11 points, and that was in Monaghan's backyard. Division 3's round 1 then. Antrim beat Clare by 3 goals and 15 points to a goal and 9 points. Laois and Fermanagh drew 3 goals and 13 points apiece. And Roscommon beat Limerick by 3 goals and 6 points to 8 points. Just before I move on there, is there any results, lads, that jump out off the screen there at you?
I think Tyrone scoring 7 goals, very impressive.
Wild.
I think we all did predict them to go up though, didn't we? To be fair, So yeah, they probably do show the gap in quality between Tyrone and the rest. So yeah, I think that was definitely one result. But a lot of high scoring games though as well, like Laois Fermanagh 3-13 apiece. So definitely, Sligo scoring 120 against Derry. So with the new rules coming into ladies football as well, it's definitely made it a better spectacle, just like it's done with the men's game since the new rules have been introduced.
Absolutely so. And now just finishing up Division 4's round 2 then, of course, because they had their round 1 last weekend. That saw Longford beat Wicklow 3 goals and 8 points to 7 points. Leitrim beat Offaly 1-11 to 1-8. Carlow hammered Kilkenny 4-28 to a point. and Sligo beat Derry fairly handily as well, 120 to 2 goals and 8 points. So that is your opening week recapped and rounded up. It's been a hell of a ride, lads. So we're nearly at 2 hours, but we'll wrap it up here. Thanks so much. We had so many comments in, so many views in, lads. We really, really appreciate everybody that got involved in the discussion or that tuned in at any point of the show. The leagues are back. We are blessed. For myself and the lads, thank you to anybody who tuned in. We'll be back on Thursday at 8 p.m. for a weekend preview show, previewing round 2. But until then, enjoy, obviously, the first episode of League Sunday. Agus Torah.
Instinct.